The order came down on a gray Tuesday morning, the kind where the rain feels like it's waiting for something terrible to happen. Everyone in the 9th Recon Unit knew what it meant before the words even reached the end of the hallway. Sergeant Maya Torres is to be relieved of duty effective immediately. The air went still. No one moved. It wasn't just shock. It was fear, confusion, disbelief, all tangled into one knot that nobody could untie. Maya wasn't just another soldier. She was the unit. She'd been the first one out of the helicopter, the last one off the field. The one who covered your blind spot, even when she was bleeding. So when the command came through, people whispered theories like static on a bad radio. Some said she'd gone rogue. Others said it was political. No one dared to ask her directly. Maya didn't defend herself. She stood in the rain outside the barracks, her uniform stiff, her eyes steady. "Orders are orders," she said softly, when her lieutenant tried to protest. "They want me gone, then I go." Her voice cracked a little at the end, but she held her chin high. Then she handed in her ID tag, the one engraved with M.TORRES blood type O+, and walked away without looking back. After she left, the unit felt hollow. The missions got harder, the nights longer, the barracks echoed. No one dared sit on Maya's bunk. It stayed neatly made, her duffel bag still under it. The new recruits whispered her name, like it was cursed. But strange things began happening after she was gone. The first time was 2 weeks later, during a mission in the Black Ridge Valley. Corporal Jensen's unit was pinned down by drone fire, communications jammed, coordinates lost. Out of nowhere, the targeting system rebooted itself. A new set of coordinates flashing across their screens. "Follow this rate," the command line read, unsigned. They did, and it led them straight through a narrow canyon, avoiding every drone. When they returned, exhausted but alive, Jensen swore he saw a name flicker across the system logs before it shut off again. Torres. They thought it was a glitch, a ghost in the system. But then it happened again. 3 weeks later, Specialist Evans found his rifle malfunctioning mid-combat. Just as the enemy closed in, his weapon reset, reloaded itself automatically, a sequence only a tech with clearance could perform remotely. The diagnostics log showed the same thing. Accessed by M.TORRES, whispers turned into silence. Someone joked that she'd become some kind of guardian angel of the unit, half legend, half rumor. But deep down, everyone felt it. Maya was gone, but her presence lingered like the hum of a faraway engine. Then came the day of the inspection. The general's convoy rolled in with sharp salutes and sharp eyes. The unit stood in formation, boots shining, hearts pounding. When the medals were presented, it was supposed to be routine, commendations for bravery, precision, leadership. But as the general read the names off the list, the crowd began to shift. Sergeant Maya Torres, Medal of Valor. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Another name, another medal. Sergeant Maya Torres, Reconnaissance Excellence. Then another, and another. Every medal, every commendation her name. The general frowned, flipping through the stack of documents, confusion turning to something like fear. "There must be a mistake," he muttered, signaling his aide. But the aide only shook his head. The database was verified. The ribbons bore the same inscription. Maya Torres. By the time he reached the 10th medal, the silence in the hangar was suffocating. Lieutenant Reyes, Maya's closest friend, stepped forward. "Sir," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Sergeant Torres was relieved of duty. She's not even with us anymore." The general glanced up sharply. "Then explain this," he said, tapping the log. "Every mission completed under your unit's banner in the last 3 months. Every successful extraction, every life saved, has her name coded into the mission metadata. Access clearance level Alpha 1. Do you know what that means, Lieutenant?" Reyes swallowed hard. Alpha 1 meant someone operating from within Central Command. Someone high enough to rewrite history. No one had that kind of clearance. No one except Maya Torres. That night, Reyes couldn't sleep. He stared at his tablet, scrolling through encrypted mission reports. Every one of them signed off by her name. He followed the trail lines of code, transmission logs, coordinates, buried deep inside classified systems. It was as if she'd never left, as if she was still working from somewhere, unseen. At 2 a.m. he got a message from an untraceable address. "Stop digging, Leo." No rank, no signature, just his name typed in the way she used to say it. He froze, then replied, "Maya? Where are you?" No answer. The next morning, a file appeared in his inbox, time-stamped 0417. No sender, no subject, just an attachment named Ikkyo. Inside were encrypted mission feeds, footage from operations the unit hadn't even been deployed to yet. Each one showed real-time data, tactical layouts, predicted movements, all matching the outcomes of missions that hadn't happened. It was impossible. Reyes took it to Commander Holt, who'd replaced Maya. Holt was a man who didn't believe in ghosts or miracles. He took one look at the footage and turned pale. "Shut it down," he said immediately. "Whatever this is, it's not ours anymore." But the system refused to shut down. Every time they tried to disconnect, the network restored itself. Files duplicated, passwords regenerated. On one of the encrypted panels, a new message flashed in red. "You're not supposed to be here." Reyes' stomach turned cold. "This is her," he whispered. "She's still inside." Holt shook his head. "She can't be. We wiped her access months ago." But they hadn't, because she'd built it. Maya had written the defense protocols herself. The encryption that kept their operations invisible to enemy satellites, the AI that predicted ambush patterns, the safety override that rerouted drones when soldiers were in danger. Every layer of the system had her signature buried deep in the code. If she wanted to, she could live inside it forever. Reyes spent the next week trying to trace her. He dug through command networks, rerouted data streams, broke through layers of protection until his screens glowed with lines of cascading code. Then suddenly everything went black. A single window popped open. "You shouldn't have stayed, Leo." He typed back. "You shouldn't have left." There was a pause. Then another message appeared. "They ordered me to." "You know why?" Reyes' heart raced. "Tell me." But before she could reply, the screen froze and the system logged out automatically. He sat there, staring into the reflection of his own face in the dark monitor, realizing something was terribly wrong, not just with the system, but with what they'd done to her. 2 days later, Command received an encrypted memo stamped with an insignia no one recognized. It contained one sentence: Unit 9 was compromised from within. Maya Torres neutralized the breach. Reyes read it 5 times. Neutralized the breach? What did that mean? That night, he gathered the old crew in the mess hall, the ones who still whispered her name. "She didn't leave," he told them. "She stayed to protect us. She's out there somewhere cleaning up someone else's mess." Silence fell. And then Private Jensen spoke softly. "Sir, if that's true, why do the new drones use her voice when they give orders?" Reyes blinked. "What?" "Listen," Jensen said. He played back a recent combat recording. The command AI's voice was crisp, calm, and unmistakably human. "Target locked. Evacuate North Ridge." It was Maya. Even through static, her tone carried that same unshakable steadiness, that quiet authority that made everyone obey without question. Reyes leaned back, realization washing over him like ice. She hadn't just built the system. She'd become part of it. And somewhere inside the code that powered every drone, every satellite, Every encrypted feed, she was still watching them. He didn't tell command. He couldn't. Because if they knew what she'd done, they'd destroy everything to erase her completely. But deep down, Reyes wondered if maybe that's what she wanted, to be unseen, unheard, but always there, guarding them from the shadows. As weeks turned into months, her legend grew. Recruits whispered that every time a mission succeeded against impossible odds, it was because Sergeant Maya Torres had written fate into the system itself. And then one morning, just when the unit started to move on, a new transmission came through. Incoming threat detected. Proceed with caution. M. Reyes stared at the message, his pulse pounding. Because this time, the coordinates pointed to their own base. Reyes didn't hesitate. He jumped from his chair, boots slamming the metal floor, shouting for everyone to suit up. The klaxon wailed through the corridors like a scream that came from the bones of the building itself. Within minutes, the whole base erupted in chaos. Soldiers running, lights flashing red, the command screens flickering with a dozen conflicting signals. But the coordinates didn't lie. They led straight beneath the communications wing, right where the unit's main data servers were housed. Commander Holt stormed in, his face pale. Who authorized this alert? Reyes turned to him, breath ragged. Maya. Holt froze. That's impossible. She's gone. Then explain this. Reyes pointed at the flashing terminal. Every encrypted system displayed the same line of code pulsing in red. Breach detected. Source internal. Something or someone was inside the network. Moving fast, overriding protocols, disabling firewalls one by one. It wasn't an attack from outside. It was coming from deep within the system's own architecture. And the strange part was, the code pattern looked familiar. Almost like a signature. Reyes's mind raced back to all those nights watching her type, her hands flying across the keyboard, her code clean, efficient, almost beautiful. It was her. But this time, the commands weren't protecting the unit. They were locking it down. Seal the data wing, Holt barked. Now, soldiers rushed to obey, the heavy steel doors sliding shut with an echo that rattled the floor. The air grew thick with tension. Outside, rain lashed against the windows, lightning flickering across the base's metal walls. And then the lights died, everything plunged into black. A low hum replaced the alarms. The monitors flickered to life again, but the familiar military interface was gone. In its place, a single symbol appeared, a stylized phoenix, wings made of digital flame. Beneath it, one sentence slowly typed itself across every screen. You never asked why they wanted me gone. The room fell silent, except for the faint buzzing of the screens. Reyes whispered, Maya, what are you doing? Her voice came through the speakers, soft, calm, and hauntingly human. Finishing what I started. Holt grabbed the mic. Torres, stand down. That's an order. You don't give me orders anymore, she said. There was no anger, just a quiet sadness. You never did. A camera feed flickered on, showing the interior of the data core. The red lights inside glowed like veins in a living thing. Cables hung from the ceiling like roots, and in the center, a figure in tactical gear, hooded, typing rapidly at a terminal. Who the hell is that? Holt demanded. Reyes's heart sank. It's her. Holt turned to the soldiers. Move. Contain her before she... Don't, Reyes interrupted sharply. If she's doing this, there's a reason. They didn't listen. A squad moved in. As they breached the chamber, the feed glitched, static swallowing their images, and then came the sound of a scream, followed by silence. When the feed stabilized, the soldiers were down, unharmed but unconscious, their weapons disabled. The figure turned toward the camera, lowering her hood. It was Maya, but she didn't look the same. Her eyes were colder, sharper, reflecting the glow of code cascading down the walls around her. Her face was calm, too calm. "Leo," she said softly, looking straight into the camera, "you were the only one who believed in me. That's why I'm telling you this. They ordered me to leave because I found out what the unit really was." Reyes leaned closer. "What are you talking about? The missions weren't all what they seemed. Half of them weren't rescue ops, they were tests. AI predictive warfare simulations. Real people on the field, but half the outcomes were calculated before the first bullet was fired. They were using us to train an algorithm for autonomous combat." Reyes felt the blood drain from his face. "That's not possible." She shook her head. "It's not only possible, it's already operational. They called it Project EKO. They fed it every decision, every move I made, every life I saved. And when I refused to let them use it to replace soldiers, they said I'd compromise national security. That's why they ordered me to disappear." Holt slammed his fist against the console. "Lies! That system was shut down years ago." Maya looked straight into the lens. "No, Commander. It was buried under your name." The room erupted in chaos. Soldiers shouting, Holt drawing his sidearm, Reyes standing frozen between them. Then the power surged again. Sparks flew from the ceiling, and the air filled with static. The entire base's communication system rebooted, this time showing a massive data transfer in progress. File after file streamed out of the network toward an unknown destination. "Maya!" Reyes shouted. "What are you doing?" "I'm giving them back their freedom," she said. "Every soldier whose life was reduced to data. Every decision stolen by the machine. They deserve to be remembered as people, not simulations." "You're going to destroy everything," Holt yelled. "I'm saving what's left," she replied quietly. The feed flickered again. She pressed something on the terminal, and for a moment the entire base vibrated, then silent. Every screen went dark. Outside, the storm stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Hours passed before the power returned. The systems rebooted, but something strange had changed. The ECO network, the backbone of their entire digital defense grid, was gone, wiped clean as if it had never existed. Holt was furious, demanding an inquiry, an arrest, anything to blame. But there was nothing left to trace. Maya's access was erased, her digital fingerprints burned away. All that remained was a single folder deep in the archives, protected by a passcode that no one could crack. Its title, "For Leo." Reyes opened it. Inside was a short message and a file attachment. "If you're reading this, I did what I had to do. They built a system to predict war. I built one to prevent it. The medals weren't for what I did. They were warnings for what we'd become. Take care of them. And if they ask where I went, tell them I finally came home." Attached beneath it was a single image, her military ID, and behind it a photo of the entire unit smiling together before their first deployment. Reyes sat there, staring at it until the screen blurred. He didn't tell anyone what was in the message. Some truths, he realized, were meant to stay hidden, like the ghosts that guard the living. Weeks later, during a routine metal audit, a clerk noticed something strange. Every award the unit had ever received now carried a small engraving, barely visible under the surface. It wasn't her name anymore. It was just 2 words. "For everyone." Reyes smiled when he heard. Somewhere out there, maybe inside the network, maybe beyond it, Maya Torres was still watching. Not as a ghost, not as a rebel, but as the soldier who refused to let machines decide what it meant to be human. And in the quiet of the barracks, when new recruits asked about her, Reyes always said the same thing. "She never left us. She just changed where she stands guard, Sometimes, in the middle of the night when the comms flickered for no reason and the drones corroded their course mid-flight, the older soldiers would nod knowingly and whisper, "That's her." Because some heroes don't vanish. They become the pulse in the wires, the code in the air, the unseen heartbeat of the people they swore to protect. In the end, Maya Torres didn't need recognition or ceremony. The truth of her story lived in every life she saved, every system she rewrote, every whisper of her name that still echoed through the unit's halls. And maybe that's how legends are born. Not from medals or orders, but from the moments when the world tries to silence someone brave enough to rewrite it anyway.